Let me ask you a question. How often do you end a day and think, sheesh, I didn't get nearly as much done as I wanted to, or as I thought I would, or I thought I had a list of 5 things and I only got 3 of them done? How often have you finished a week and thought, where did this week go? I just didn't get that much done. How often have you finished a month and thought, I can't believe it. I was going to do this, and this, and this, and I only got this done. What happens? Well, you're operating without a vision map. And when you get a vision map, when we start mapping out your visions, those thoughts are going to become a thing of the past. Good news. So, before we get into really the vision mapping process, I want to go over something with you that's very, very important. You'll have a PDF available, and the PDF is called Dream Page. And what we talked about in our last session was how you identify the most important areas of your life, and then ultimately you identify your dreams, your want-tos, what you really want to accomplish in each of those most important areas. And those are called dream pages. Well, you list those areas, and then what we do is we have you prioritize the areas, then take your most important area in that, start to create dream pages. And what are your dreams in that area? And so I want to go through in this little session the dream page. So you've got the PDF. If you want to download it now, you can. And then we can go through it. And if you don't want to download it now, that's okay, because I'll talk about it anyway. And then you can watch this once you've downloaded it. So your dream page starts out with the question, or the little paragraph you're going to write, shooting for the moon revision. Now, a lot of times we set goals and dreams that are less than what we'd really want to accomplish. We tend to set goals that we think we can accomplish. Why? Because everybody has a natural fear of failure. My son, as I mentioned earlier, used to be a high jumper. And he could have set the bar at 4 feet and knew I can do that standing still. In fact, he could actually do a standing high jump where he just stood still and leaped over a bar that was almost as tall as he was, 5'9". And but put the bar at 6'4". That's going to take I think he said he actually got to where he could scissor a 6'4" jump, and that's where you just go over kind of for fun with 2 legs, kind of a scissor pattern. But ultimately, if he got the bar at 6'6", 6'8", 6'9", he had to have the right approach. And but if he had only set the bar low, which is what most people do, he would know he would never miss, never. And we teach a strategy that'll be in a future on how to shoot for the moon, how to really set impossible goals, impossible dreams. And you say, well, why even bother if they're impossible? Well, they're impossible for you, but we're going to also teach you the strategy of partnering, effective partnering. Because when you shoot for the moon, the only way to hit it is to effectively partner. And so we're going to get into all of that. But once you've learned that, you have at the top of each dream page, shooting for the moon revision. Because we tend to set our dreams too low. We set our goals too low. So once you understand the process of shooting for the moon, you'll go back over all of your dream pages and you will revise the dream upward. And so that's what the shooting for the moon revision means. Broad ramifications. We're going to look at another strategy down the road called creative persistence. Most people think persistence is hitting the wall, falling down, getting up, and hitting it again and again and again. No, that's stupidity. That's not persistence. Creative persistence is when I hit the wall and fall down, I get up, and I'm either going to find a way under the wall, over the wall, around the wall, or I'm going to blow the wall up. Okay? That's creative persistence. And Edison was the absolute master at creative persistence. And we're going to look, when we get into creative persistence, we're going to look at what he did that allowed him to creatively persist through more failures to achieve more successes than any man in history. Edison earned over 1,000 patents. No individual has ever been granted that many patents, or even close to that many, other than Edison. But he was able to do it because he learned to creatively persist through failure. And we're going to show you that. But one of his keys, and we'll really get into this in that when we get into that strategy, is the second thing on this dream page, which says broad vision ramifications. So it's really broad ramifications. When he wanted to create the world's first practical incandescent light bulb, electric light bulb, in his journal, he had the statement of his vision, and he drew a little picture of what he thought the light bulb would probably look like. And then he listed what was going to make it successful. Well, it was going to be long-lasting, safe, give better light than a kerosene lamp, and it was going to be more economical than kerosene. And it was, of course, going to be safer. And so that was his dream page. But then you turn the page and you found out he had 9 pages of broad ramifications, all the things that were going to happen if he succeeded. And of course, the converse of those things would happen if he didn't succeed. And you'll discover that it's that little practice that gives you the fuel to creatively persist. So in this section, and we'll really get into that when we get into creative persistence, but in this section, you write down the broad ramifications. For example, broad ramification of his creating an electric light bulb is people are going to need electric power. There was no electric power generating in the world when Edison conceived of the light bulb. And so he thought, okay, everybody that's going to want this great electric light, they're going to have electric power in their homes, their factories, their office buildings. And so I'm going to be selling them electric power. Wow. Everybody that has a home, a factory, an office, a farm in America is going to be consuming the electricity I'm going to put into their home because I first get them, they have the light bulb. They're going to have the light bulb. They're going to have electric power. Well, since they're going to have electric power, they're also going to think, man, I wish I could do work easier, more effective, more efficiently. So I will create appliances and inventions that use electric power so they consume more of the power I'm selling. So I'm going to invent all these appliances and machines and things that use electricity. And I'm going to do that for every factory, farm, office, and home in the United States. And another broad ramification, if I can do it in the United States, I'll do it in Canada and Mexico. And if I can do it in Canada and Mexico, I can go clear down to South America, Latin America, Central America. And who in Europe isn't going to want this? So I can go to Europe. See all the broad ramifications? Why did he do that? So if he gave up on the light bulb, he wasn't really giving up on the light bulb. He was giving up on electric power, on inventing more things. You know, he invented the sound recorder, the record player. He invented the motion picture camera and motion picture projection system. He did all of that, and it was all required electricity. And but how do you get people to want electricity? You show them an electric light. So he couldn't quit on the light bulb, and he had so many failures, over 400 failed filaments. He would put a filament in this light bulb, which took a long time because he had to create a vacuum within a bulb. And he'd put that in and turn on the switch, burn real brightly, and then poof, gone. Okay, what's the next filament? I mean, hundreds of failures, but they creatively persisted over and over and over again, his team. Okay, people to share my vision with. You'll also learn in creative persistence, one of the things Edison did is he shared his dream with a handful of important people that were important in his life. Why? Because he wanted them, when he felt like giving up, when he was too tired or too frustrated or too angry, he wanted them to basically come by his side and say, come on, Tom, don't give up. We got to do this. We got to do this. And he wanted that, okay? So he always shared his vision with somebody. You learned your personality type. So you write down what traits and strengths from your personality type are you going to play to make this dream come true, okay? And of course, you have weaknesses. So what weaknesses could prevent you from achieving this? So my weakness, one of my weaknesses for my personality type, one of many, is I'm not detail-oriented. I hate mundane detail. And yet, without the detail, nothing works, right? So I had to know my weaknesses. So for each project, I had someone on the team whose strengths were in the areas of my weaknesses. And you'll learn all of that when we get into effective partnering, which is one of our strategies. Okay, that's the front side of the dream page. Let's talk about the back side. Back side, my lack of know-how. Why is that important? Because all of us know one or two or a few good things, and we know it really well. But to do something that creates extraordinary results, we've got to do a lot of things really well. So what do? We effectively partner. We partner with people who can do the things that we can't do. So my lack of know-how is important. My lack of resources. Why is that important? No good to start a project if you don't have, for example, the money to finish it. If you have a project that requires engineering and you're not an engineer, you better be able to hire an engineer. So your lack of resources. What resources are we talking about? Time, talent, and money. If you don't have the time, you've got to delegate. You've got to get the right people. You don't have the talent, you got to get the right people with those talents. You don't have the money, you got to find somebody who does, okay? So, or you've got to find a way to make more money so you can fulfill that dream. Possible partners to recruit. The type of person you're going to learn all of this in effective partnering. The type of person you're going to need to recruit, then you make a list, and we show you how to do all of this. So you identify a person, and for each type you come up with different people, and you end up creating a list. Possible mentors to recruit. I would be nothing, big zero, without my mentors. For communication, which was my most important thing that I needed to learn, I was mentored by a man that to this day, I believe was the number one most effective communicator alive. There's others that were effective through history that I could point to. Of course, Jesus Christ was the most effective communicator who ever lived. You say, how can you say that? Well, one time he had 5,000 people who didn't leave his speaking for 3 days. That means they didn't take meal breaks. I mean, who is so amazing that you just can't stand the thought of leaving because you might miss something. And yet that was how he communicated. Well, you'll find out he did the 5 techniques we teach, plus he did 3 more, and we'll actually share those with you too. Okay, outside experts. Why is this important? People who have accomplished what you want to accomplish, they've already made all the mistakes. They tried shortcuts that didn't work, and then they tried a few that worked. So when you get those experts, you say, how am I ever going to meet those experts? Guess what? Most of them have YouTube videos, or they've written things online. So you can find their expert advice and draw from that advice rather than you having to reinvent the wheel. And then, of course, other outside resources I may need to recruit. time, talent, and money. So that's the dream page, and that's all we're going to look at for now. In our next session, we're actually going to get into the vision mapping process and how you can begin to vision map your dreams. See you then.